Welcome back to our 56th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show, where I interview Mike Stott with Your Coaching Matters. In this episode, Mike and I talk about why you should start small in your farm and scale up, as this is something I preach all the time myself. Mike also shares how you can leverage local businesses in your farm to increase your presence as well as build long-term relationships. And we talk about what you can do to set yourself up as the expert by understanding the numbers in your farm and how you can use this knowledge to win more listings. Mike also shares a super easy way to stay in contact with your database that adds value and converts at a super high level. And we talk about how to reframe your mindset so your clients trust you and see you as the only option to work with. Plus, a ton of other ideas that you can use to grow your geographic farm. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy the episode with Mike. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Your Farm Show. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and today we've got a great guest. It's Mike Stott with Your Coaching Matters. Mike's a coach, and you're a practicing real estate agent yourself. So Mike, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Well, hard to believe, but this is my 41st year in real estate. I was licensed 5 days after I turned 18 in 1980. I sold real estate in Hawaii in high volume for 25 years, moved to Atlanta, opened our coaching business and started working with Your Coaching Matters. And doing that, we still sell, albeit with my son-in-law, about 50 homes a year. And we manage about 60 rentals. And I just get so excited about lead generation and what we do and what we teach and what you're teaching and what you're doing out there. You know, our overall philosophy for our clients is that you should have a really strong database of 100 people, 150 people that are happy to refer you or have used you or have referred people to you. But if you're newer in the business, you don't have 150 people. So you have to do some of the more traditional forms of lead generation, of which a geographic farm is obviously one of them that can be very, very, very profitable. So that's just a quick introduction. I've been doing this forever. I was a Floyd Wickman sweat hog trainer for ERA. I've been a GRI instructor. I'm a CRS, CRB, CCIM. I'm on the board of directors at my local Cherokee Association of Realtors. I live, breathe, and eat real estate and training real estate agents so that they can have more success with having a great life doing it. And I really believe that we are a contribution to society. Is we really do help people through one of the most traumatic experiences that they can go through. I mean, any psychological survey you look at, they always have death of a spouse or loved one or a child. Divorce is probably being the two most traumatic events in an adult's life, but somewhere between 3 to 7, depending on which report you read, has moving as being the next most traumatic experience. And we get to help people and assist with that. We get to be the influence of all is well throughout the transaction. We get to use our experience. We get to use our knowledge. Real estate is at least as much an art form as it is a science. And I think we each can do, our own authentic contribution in a manner that shows people that you are different from other agents and that you do add a lot of value to the transaction.
I full-heartedly believe that, and I believe that real estate can be whatever you make it, and that's what I love about it. There's not one path, there's not one strategy, not one approach, and it's you can really make it your own. You can have fun with it. You can create something that adds value to people. You can create something that adds value to the community, and that's why I like farming. And you can really make it your own.
Can I share a secret with you?
Sure.
For almost 3.5 years, I worked with, at the time, the largest real estate coaching and training firm in the world. And his philosophy was contact 100 people a day, throw away leads after 7 days. Don't do anything like that. When we were actually coaching the clients, 70 to 80% of the business was coming from past clients, centers of influence, and traditional forms of lead generation. So it's always been that way. If you look at the National Association of Realtors profile of home buyers and sellers, I would say one of the biggest mistakes new or desperate agents do is buy leads. You don't need to do that, because if you look at it, depending on how you count the numbers, somewhere between 70 and 83% of all the sales are either past clients, referrals from past clients, open houses. Your efforts as an agent and your reputation are going to get you, in my count, 83% of the business. So all those lead generation people are vying for 17% of the business. And one of the things I love about a geographic farm or a demographic farm, I don't know which you preach more, but if we just stuck with the demographic farm, is you can become the expert in an area and know more than any other agent, which is going to give you a competitive advantage when it becomes time to sell.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I preach. So I call it CPR, and it's the foundation of what a farm really is about, whether that's geographic or demographic, and it stands for community, positioning, and relationships. And you have to have that community first. So whether that is a subset of people you're focusing on, whether it's your farm, your database, your past clients, you have to have that community, put them first, put them ahead of the transaction and build that community. Then you position yourself as the expert and the ambassador. And if you do that correctly, you then learn to build relationships, and then it cycles back. You build the relationships, that turns into more business, and you can grow the community. And you have to have that community mindset, and you have to find a group that you're going to focus your attention, time, and energy on. Now, I specifically prefer geographic farming just because that's what I teach, but it really goes across anything. And one of the things you teach is for sale by owners. And that's why I wanted to have you on today. You've been a past guest on my old podcast.
Right.
You're the kind of the king of FSBOs. The great thing is,
I'm a crown prince, maybe not king, one of the crown princes of this one. And I will tell you though, for geographic farming, just to give you a little bit of history, in 1989, we were selling about 300 homes a year in Hawaii. Like 286 of them were to incoming and outgoing military families. My father was a retired nuclear sub captain. And we did the dog and pony shows in Leavenworth and San Diego and Virginia for officers that were moving to Hawaii. We brought them macadamia nuts and showed slides. This was all pre-computer days. And we had what was called the Aloha Kit. And we had a reduction in forces in 90. And the cost of living went up. Our housing prices tripled. So our number of sales went from 286 to 3 in 1992. Obviously, a huge hit to our income. And so my wife, Donna, who's much smarter than I am, said, let's do work on the local market. And I knocked over the course of the next 3 years, every door in my local town, which was about 11,000 homes twice. And it was a town called Kailua in Hawaii, not on the big island. It's on Oahu, the island with all the people. And I knocked on every door twice. And what I discovered as I was doing this is, one is dress comfortably, because you don't need to see you in a coat and tie or anything like that. Dress to get wet because it rains all the time in Hawaii. Bring treats for dogs, and bring something of value with you, an item of value, generally a market analysis for the particular sub neighborhood that was in Kailua. And the second time I went through there, people thought I had just been there 2 or 3 months before, even though it was a year and a half later. It makes such an impression to go door to door or to have a real relationship with somebody that you really become the competitive advantage. Now, let's be real. In today's marketplace, one of our coaching clients is the Mark Spain team. And for those of you familiar, he's in 7 states now, and he has an advertising budget that's about 10 times more than what I want to earn this year. His advertising budget is over 5 million now. And he hires 8 people, basically 16 hours a day, to answer the phone and internet inquiries on, if we don't sell your home, we'll buy it. He has 172 billboards in my market area. I can't compete with that. I can't. I just can't. If somebody is going to want to go the big box, which I'm seeing in many marketplaces across the way, which is what Zillow and OfferPad and Open Door and all those companies are trying to do. They're thinking they can get us out of the business. We can't compete. I mean, right now I'm in a suburb of Atlanta. Zillow is offering 3.5% higher than what they think the value is of the home when they're doing Zillow offers. I can't compete with that. But what they can't compete on is the relationship I have with 150 people who know and like and refer 45 to 50 deals a year to me. I have one client in Jacksonville Beach who's doing this, and Jacksonville Beach is a small community. His group of 150 have referred to him already 72 deals this year. Okay. That's so crazy. What do you do if you don't have 150 people that you've sold in the past, or that would vouch for you, or that would say, hey, Ryan Smith is the best agent, you got to talk to him, and so how do you build it up? One way is FSBOs, and another way would be expired listings. The third way is the geographic farming. There's a number of other affinity groups. We've identified like 27 of them, but the big three, besides your past clients and centers of influence, are always going to be FSBOs, expireds, and geographic/demographic farms.
Yep.
Right now in this market, let's be honest, FSBOs are fewer and far between. Expireds are fewer and far between. So why would you want to even think about it right now? Is because the market will change.
Yes.
And what I see is happening in our marketplace, just I know my numbers, is our prices year over year in July, in June to June, they went up 26% price, but in July to July, they went up 22%. So the rate of appreciation may be slowing. Now I look for 3 or 4 months in a row to see that down, but numbers you might want to look at is months of remaining inventory. As that increases, number of price reductions, if those increase, and the rate of appreciation slows down. For sale by owners have always been the most optimistic of all sellers. And so if their house was worth 500,000 a year ago, and they say, oh, the market went up 22%. Well, in my marketplace, they're about 150% at 500,000 higher than the median price, which will be different numbers statistically, but they'll say, oh, the market went up 22%. I'm worth 610 today. Well, if the market slows down at all and the market, it's really only worth 580, they're still making a boodle of money, but they're not going to sell on their own because they're asking for too much. So that's why you might want to start focusing on expireds. And then, I find expireds and FSBOs or two sides of the same coin. They don't trust real estate agents anymore, or they're mad at us. And by coming from this contribution and coming from a giving philosophy that you're going to earn their business. I just listed a property yesterday. It was listed with another agent. The deal fell apart. The agent and the owner got very mad at each other. They canceled the contract. I talked to him on Friday, and I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. There are other good agents out there closer than I am, but let me show you what I would do for your house. And he says, you were the only agent that didn't come on like a 2-ton sledgehammer. You gave me the best possible information. I listed the house yesterday. It's a nice size sale, 585 also. And I have 7 showings in the first 24 hours scheduled. So that's the sort of results that we can give, that we can make a family who are very angry or upset or very worried or very unrealistic, and we can tell them the truth in a way that gives them hope and allows them to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I teach all the time is strategy stacking, and it's layering in your efforts in a geographic farm so that you reach more people. And one of the great things about that is that you can throw in FSBOs, you can throw in expireds, you can throw in open houses, you can throw in door knocking, you can do all the different things, and it compounds because you're putting your attention into one area, and those efforts actually help each other. And I always say, I'd rather have 5 signs in one neighborhood than 1 sign in 5 neighborhoods. And if you can do what you're doing correctly with farming, FSBOs become even easier. And I personally, I've taken your training and I've gone through it in the past, and it's one of the ways that I've always grown my business. And I've moved 3 times and I restarted my business 3 times. And FSBOs is a quick way to do that. And when you do it in your farm, it becomes so much easier because they see all the other things you're doing. They see all the stuff you're doing in the community. And then it just becomes that much easier to do with the right approach.
You also have the swagger because you know more than they do. Oftentimes, like if you approach a for sale by owner that's 45 minutes away from your office, and I work, as you know, I tend to work a half hour, because if I drive half an hour, I'm okay. If I drive 31 minutes and they stand me up, I'm pissed. And that's just the game I play. It's the game that I've made up and everything else. But if you drove, 45 minutes, you might not know that area as well as that seller does. And I'll tell you what, the for sale by owners, as soon as they think you know more than they do, you're toast. Unless you're incredibly good looking, which I am obviously not, incredibly charismatic, which I have some charisma, but not
Yeah.
enough to win over a lack of knowledge. And so
Yeah.
I think the biggest component is you take on a farm. Now, what do you recommend in terms of sizes? If somebody was saying, gosh, Ryan, I want to start a farm, what sort of size do you start looking at? Do you look at turnover ratios or do you look at size, geographic size?
So I look at all of the things in combination. And I always start with budget. So for me, it's the budget of your time and money, and start with that when you're choosing a farm. So some agents can absolutely do 5,000-10,000 homes. Some agents are good with 500 homes because they've got the budget and the time to do that.
Right.
So generally speaking, I tell agents between 1,000 and 2,000 homes as a good starting point to get started and scale up.
Is that one community in your area? Is that going to be several communities?
It'd be one neighborhood in our.
Yes, in the Atlanta area, like the neighborhood I built my forever home in has 83 homes. And average size. So that would be 4, 5, 6 neighborhoods in most of our areas. But we do have a geographic farm that has 480 homes in it. Now, what I would say, and Ryan has been studying this longer and more intensely than I have, everybody who's listening, is it's okay to start small and scale up.
100%.
And when you talk budget for me, I'm at the stage of my life where money is not as important as time.
Yeah.
And so you can go very inexpensively and door knock.
Yeah.
As long as it's legal in the neighborhood. And you can provide a lot of value door knocking versus the direct mail campaign. Obviously, the best relationships are going to be face to face.
Yeah.
The next best relationships are going to be over the phone, if you can actually talk to them. And then the next best relationship is going to be either texting or emailing as you go through. We started a farm that was a demographic farm. And what I did was, it was investor owners, people that own investment properties in the 12 zip codes that I service. And what I identified is there's about 6,200 people. They own about 8,000 properties in those areas. And I tried doing all of them and had zero success. I mean, I tried mailing, 6,000 mailings a month for a year, got expensive. And then, at $1 a piece, you're spending $72,000 over the course of the year. But I learned, and you will learn. This is the great thing I know as a coach, is you guys are smart, and anything that you focus on, you're going to learn to do well, or you're going to stop doing it. And so what I learned is that these people, I wasn't getting any traction with people that lived in those same zip codes. So I immediately cut the list down to 1,300, and those 1,300 now, I believe this year have given me like 24 sales.
Wow.
And, average price about 300,000, and I'm not mailing them anymore. They're getting emails. And the way I kicked it off is for like 6 months, once every other week, I did a Zoom call, and I invited them all through Sly Broadcast, through that voice message and a text message that I could get out to them, and invited them to the Zoom calls. And I started getting into conversations with people. And then what I have now is a list of about 36 investors that I love, that we manage their properties, and they buy homes. And those basically 36 investors have bought 20 properties, and the other 1,200 of them have bought 4. But I'm looking to add to that list there, which is a very effective farm for some of you to look forward to, because you can become the expert on 1031 exchanges, on Delaware statutory trusts, on vehicles that they could sell and buy. But what we have the big advantage in our area is we have new home construction that up until about a month ago at 25% down cash flowed, and they were getting 6% return on their down payment, but the properties were appreciating at 22%. We have several people over the last 5 years, they've made significantly more on appreciation than they have on total rent collected, not cash flow collected, but total rent collected. If the house rents for $2,000 a month now, and they spent $200,000 on it, well, now it's worth $320,000, and they've made $10,000 a month for the last year on it, and they've been collecting $2,000 a month in rent. So that's a farm idea that those of you out there might want to look at or consider.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point about the scaling back part. And I think it's better. I always say one of my mantras is it's better to scale up than it is to scale back. And a lot of
Right.
people try to go too big. And I have people come to me all the time and say, I've got this area, it's a large area, and I don't want to miss out. And there's more opportunities in starting with the right smaller audience, practicing, figuring out what you're doing, get your ducks in a row, and
Right.
then scale up once you know what you're doing. Because if you do it at a large scale, you're just spending more money, and you're can be wasting a lot of money if you've never tested it before, never tried it before. So I always say start small and use it as your laboratory, and use that as kind of a testing ground to see what works, what doesn't work before you scale up. And when you do that, you can then scale up quicker and be more efficient. You'll also build more relationships with that. And the agents who have large farms tend to have less market share than the ones who have smaller farms. They can get more market share quicker and then actually keep more market share.
Right. And that's a great question is, people often ask, well, this one agent says they're the area expert. And I would bet if you did the statistics, there's very, very few markets in the USA right now where one agent has a double-digit market share.
Yep, exactly.
Almost, unless you're in the Midwest, I haven't heard of it happening for the last 20 years, is the number one agent. And the way I combat that is sort of interesting. If you're on the appointment and it's your first listing in this new area that you say you take 200 homes and it's averaging, 18 to 24 sales a year for the last 5 years. And your goal is to get 25% of them. So you want 5 or 6 listings in this neighborhood, and you're going for your first appointment. And they say, well, what about Tom Smith? He's the neighborhood expert. He says he's the neighborhood expert. And I go, I thought you might talk to me about that question. Let's look at the last 12 sales, the last 2 years worth of sales. Well, this was listed by Tom Smith. There he is, and sold by Mary Brown. And then this was listed by Joe Schmo and sold by, and you'll see that Tom, out of the last 12 sales, maybe has 2.
Yeah.
And that would be unusual in many cases. And so know your numbers would be the biggest thing I would say in any geographic farm, is know those statistics and eat, live, and breathe that farm. Every new listing, go in and see it. Every FSBO, go and see it. And you will know more than anybody else in 3 to 4 months about that neighborhood.
100%. And that's my own personal story. When I started my farm, I was new to the area, never sold anything in the neighborhood before, but we positioned ourselves, and that comes back to that CPR. We positioned ourselves as the experts up front. We branded ourselves as the neighborhood experts. We went and saw all the properties. We knew the prices. We knew the builders. We knew the models. And when we were going to an appointment, we walk in and could say, this is an Empire model. It's 1,356 square feet. It's the elevation B. There's 3 that just sold in the last 3 months. And within 4 months, we were seen as the expert. We went on our first appointment, and they're like, oh, you're the expert. The next one said, oh, you're the expert, and you're the expert. So it allowed us to position ourselves very quickly by learning. And most agents aren't willing to do that. So it's very easy to become that expert very quickly if you're willing to put the time in and do that.
Absolutely. It's sort of interesting. In our market area, do I have permission to share a screen for 30 seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to share this screen. Is one of our geographic farm with 480 homes or so is called Bradshaw Farms. And it took me about 4 minutes to download the data from my MLS. We use FMLS, which is Matrix, which is about half the market share across the country. And in Matrix, just if I'll, in Matrix, if you go to FMLS and you log in, you could do an area, and I'm just going to pick a zip code because it's a bigger area, or I'll pick a city, Woodstock, Georgia. That's where my hometown is. If I search Woodstock and I look for properties, 300,000 to 500,000, just to show you how it works. If you click the results, and you can do the stats tabular here, which will show you what all the stats are. Most MLSs will also have a stats feature, and you can do the historic sales price trend, residential detached homes in Woodstock, and it will let you go back the past 10 years. If you generate this, it will let you see the data, and you have the data, and you can export it as a CSV file. And that comes out very, quickly, and it comes out into an Excel file that all you can do is then, sum each of it. So you get the average of the median sales price, which sounds a little weird. And then I do the percentage change year over year. And then I do the 10-year change, and then I count the number of sales, and then I'm able to chart it. And if you kept this chart up on a quarterly basis, I don't make it very pretty. I do put my contact information on the other because I want it to look like it's homemade rather than a professional graphic. Because that's what they're looking for, is somebody that understands them and isn't too fancy or slick. And so I get this out, and what it shows, look at what the median prices have done and look at the number of sales. You know, the lowest has been like 23 or 24 sales, and we've been as high as 45 or 46 sales in a year. And so we get, you know, 3 or 4 sales a year in this, but we've only been doing it for 9 months, 10 months now. So that's what I talk about. When you know everything about the neighborhood, you are able to have these numbers at your fingertips. You know, gosh, you've owned the house since 2011. Your house is almost 2.5 times in value. I mean, the median price went up from 240 to 585. Wow, it's like winning the lottery, isn't it? And all of a sudden you got that mojo when you're talking about that. And that's one reason to love a geographic farm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's easy to do without having even had sales. And if you do that correctly, like I said, you can position yourself very quickly as the expert and never have sold a home. You can be brand new to the business. You can be brand new to the area. If you have more sales, you can then leverage that even more.
And I will promise you this, you will make up the objections that you haven't sold anything in the neighborhood, or you're not the number one agent in the neighborhood, or that, far more than you'll ever hear it in real life. Because it's what those objections are. We call it monkey mind in our coaching business. It's just our doubt and fear and worry talking. And you can call it mind trash. You can ignore it. We like to call it monkey mind. And we say, thank you for sharing. Here's a banana. Nevertheless, I'm going to do my job. And you just go ahead and you do it with your energy and enthusiasm. And you come out there and you say, look, here's the information. I'm showing that, you know, a dollars per square foot analysis, I just did one, shows that homes are selling for about 119% of assessed value and at $150 a square foot. This gives us a value for your home. Homes are selling for 95% to 110% of this value right now. And what do you think? And they go, oh, wow, that sounds pretty good. You know a lot. And I said, as important as all that is, it's not as important as knowing how to sell your house. See, there's numbers and there's knowing how to sell the numbers. And so here's where my analysis gets really interesting, is the other agent knows that I'm the expert in the neighborhood. So let's say we listed your house for $450 and an offer comes in at $430. I'll say, look, here's my analysis that shows that this house is worth every penny at $450. However, the sellers have countered at $440, which represents $41 a month more than your buyers offered. Please remind the buyers also that they can't pay too much for the house because they're getting an appraisal. Okay, so the buyers are protected. The value is there. It's going to cost them $44 a month more to buy the house. Let's put this together. I'm really easy to work with. Now, can you see, Ryan, how that is effectively me coaching the buyer's agent who might not know what to say to get a counter accepted? And so having the numbers and having the sales professionalism will cause your home to sell for more. And as soon as they start nodding their head like Ryan is, so what price were you thinking about listing your home for? And they said, well, the 440 sounds great. Outstanding. Let's get going. And that's the whole listing presentation right there. If you have that trust and that relationship built. And so here's the other thing about the farm, is it will save you time on the actual presentation and in contract negotiations and in all the dilly-dallying with other agents. Because let's just flash forward. It's 4 years from now, and you are the person that has the rare 10% market share in a market, and you're selling 4, 5, 6 homes in that neighborhood every year. The other agents are going to know that. And their monkey mind's going to be, you're the big dog. I better do what they say in order to get my offer accepted.
Exactly. And I always say that the objections melt away when you are that go-to person, and it makes it so much easier because people know who you are. They know what you're about. Like you said, you've already prepped them. They know what to expect. They've seen your marketing. They've seen your signs. So the transaction becomes easier. The paperwork becomes easier. The listing presentation becomes easier. And then it just becomes a snowball effect because
just knowing what the home is really worth so that you price it correctly, and you don't have to ask for price reductions, and you don't have to, carry the listing. Now, this market's been crazy. It's been the best sellers market I've ever seen in 41 years. So some of you listening to this have never had to do a price reduction. It's coming, everybody. I mean, when I was in the business from 2007 to about 2011, we used to have birthday parties for our listings because we had them for a year. Okay. And we brought Kleenex on every listing presentation because people were losing money on their sales. And so that's when, people don't worry about the commission because the short sales and all that sort of thing. So that is coming. Now let's take it to the for sale by owner in your farm area. When you have that knowledge and it's easy for you to do the statistics, and they're listed at 480 and the house is worth 450, you can go in with a question that they never hear from a real estate agent the first time. What they're hearing is all the scripts that were developed by life insurance salesmen in the 70s, 80s, and trained as real estate agents in 2000 is, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling the home? Okay. And beat them over the head, because you might as well add, you idiot, to it. How about this? Hey, Ryan, what's the most important thing about this sale to you? And they're going to give you a fluff answer. And they're going to say something. What do you think they're going to say 80% of the time, Ryan?
Save commission.
Save commission or make the most money possible. Interesting. Good plan. Tell me more about that. And now you're getting into a deeper conversation that no other agent has gotten into with them. What's the most important thing about the sale? And they're going to give you an answer. Save commission. I don't like agents if you're talking with for sale by owners, or I need to net the most money possible on this sale. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. What does netting the most money possible mean to you? And they go, well, I can't pay a commission. And, then after you've gone into the discussion, hey, look, I know you don't feel that a real estate agent's worth 3% of the commission. In my area, that's what I charge, 3%. Obviously, different parts of the country, you can charge different amounts, and you should. And so if I'm not worth 3%, then how much am I worth? See, nobody ever asks them that question because they know you're worth something. Or else you wouldn't be in business. I mean, look at all the businesses that have gone out of business. Now, Ryan, I'm significantly older than you are, but my first car had an 8-track cassette player. Then I had a regular cassette player. Then I had a CD, and I had a 6 CD changer in my trunk. Then I had an MP3 CD. Then I had an MP3 player that connected separately. In between, I had the cassette thing that my MP3 player plugged into the thing. Now we just have our phones. Okay. So this is in 40 years. We've had the way we listen to music and podcasts and gather information and Audible books have changed completely over the last 40 years. Yet real estate agents haven't gone out of business. Let's see, when was the last time you used a travel agent to book a flight from Atlanta to Chicago? Very rarely do people use a travel agent anymore. So in our culture, things that don't add value go away. Yet fewer people are for sale by ownering in 2021 than they were in 1992. So, I know that I add value. I know that 3% is a lot of money. I mean, it's $15,000. It's a lot of money. I honor that. But if I'm not worth $15,000, what am I worth? And they go, And then they say, oh, I don't know, half that, 7,500. Well, great. I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to do this, and this. And then we're going to get an offer. And then I'm going to do this, this. And then when you close, you're going to pay me. But up until then, you pay me nothing. Fair enough?
Yeah, sounds good.
Is that a different conversation to have with any seller? I mean, and so all this is Geographic Farm is a tool to get into the conversation where somebody's going to say, I need to buy or sell. and you're going to get into the conversation as to why you add value by being involved. And so if you don't feel you add value, then you need to educate yourself on the statistics, on the marketplace. And there's nothing easier than a geographic or demographic farm to feel like you're the expert, so that you have that mojo so you can go and talk. See, all the time, I will ask real estate agents, what's your job? So if I were to say, Ryan, what's your job as a real estate agent? What would you say?
The standard answer is going to be to sell homes.
Yeah. And I'd say, you know what? My job is to provide you the best possible information, maybe some options you haven't thought of, and then proven systems and solutions that will help you sell your house for the most money or get you the most house for your money. But in either way, it's going to be your decision. I'm going to give you the information and some options for you. And then you're going to make the best decision based upon that for your own family. And so if you decide to rent, fine, I'm fine with that, because you're going to be able to refer other people to me.
Yeah.
There you go. And so our job, provide the best information, unthought of options, proven solutions, so that you can make your own best decisions regarding buying or selling real estate. Now that's a much better answer than I fulfill the American dream, or I'm outstanding in my field, or I'm the dog guy with the hat on my card. You know, it's why not be the person that has the best possible information and options? You know, there's so much wrong information out there. How much down payment do you need? The average 35-year-old person still believes, 56% of the people believe that you need 20% down to buy a house. In many markets, that's $100,000 plus. How do you save $100,000 without buying real estate? I don't know. And I get a lot of the numbers from Steve Harney at Keeping Current Matters. Just a shameless plug for a friend. If you haven't looked at Keeping Current Matters, look at him, and he gives you some great statistics. And he also gives you content that you could create a Facebook page for your geographic farm. You could create the email list and things that you could send out that give some national perspective that you can then apply to their thing. So the same philosophy is on, you know, the numbers, and then knowing how to sell the buyer's agent. Well, the same philosophy is, this is what's going on nationwide. This is what I see in our neighborhood, and this is how it can benefit you.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom. And then you're the expert. You have that. I keep going back to the word, that swagger, that mojo, but you walk in and you know what the house is worth. You know what it's going to take to sell it. And it becomes even more valuable when the market shifts from a seller's market to a neutral market. And everybody's going to say, well, the last home sold for 600. Why isn't mine worth 650? Well, the market shifted and yours is only worth 590. And you know what? If the market has shifted and it's really going to go down, then the next sale that sells is going to be the highest for the next real estate cycle. Because as the comps go down step by step, the appraisals are going to go down step by step, just the way they went up. You know, we've been up, but it's been 11 years an upward moving market. Historically, the past markets have been, a downward market is 3 to 4 years and an upward market is 4 to 6 years. This one is, you know, I can't explain it. It's a new paradigm. So I don't know what the down market's going to look like. I don't think we're going to crash. There's no reason to assume we're going to crash, but we are not going to keep going up at 2% a month. We just, you know, everybody will be priced out.
And I want to go back to the point you brought up about the having that swagger and having that confidence and going after farming, because it is so, I firmly believe that the quickest way to get that is by doing farming, because you can become that expert. And I've seen so many agents who don't know what to say, don't know what to do, don't know their stats, don't know their information, because they're trying to be all things to all people. And if you learn an area, you can quickly become confident. So if you're a brand new agent, a farm is the best thing you can do for your confidence, to get out there and learn the business, learn the market. Doesn't mean you can't do business in other areas, but you'll be able to get that confidence and know what you're talking about very quickly. And then, like I said, you can scale up from that.
I have an electric bike. I have a Pedigo bike. I ride through the neighborhood and I look at the houses and I see, I will make a note. Oh, I saw you're putting a pool in.
Yeah.
Or I saw you cut down some trees to get a better view of the golf course because this neighborhood has a golf course.
Yeah.
Or I saw your neighbor went on the market. Do you have any real estate related questions for me? There's a good one
Yeah.
for everybody. And it just shows that you're active in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what your thoughts are on, Facebook groups for the neighborhood or
I love it.
yeah. And there's so many ways to get in touch with people now. And here's the challenge is you have to become an expert in what that neighborhood wants.
Yep.
I will say, like, my young adult children, they want to Instagram, and they don't want to even go to Facebook anymore. Now, people my age, we still think Facebook is great, but people Ryan's age is like, texting, that's a little old fashioned, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
But why aren't you on Instagram or, WhatsApp or, all these different things? But for most homeowners, they're older than average.
Yep.
Facebook is going to be fine. So starting a Facebook group. My wife, Donna, she belongs to Next Door group that's called the Liberal Women of Cherokee County in Georgia. And they're a bunch of sign waving, political people, but she's generated 4 transactions from that. Somebody will say, oh, my parents need to sell their house. Does anybody know a good agent? And she won't say, I'm a good one.
Yeah.
What she'll do is she'll say, you know what? We've been selling a lot in this area. Look at our stats. And we'd love to provide your parents with, some good information so they can make their own best decision. And coming across as an expert rather than a slimy salesperson is going to get you. I always thought one of the greatest movies ever is Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray movie with Tex Honeyfield and Ned Ryerson, the life insurance salesman. Hey, Phil, is that you? You look like a guy. It's me, Needle Nose Ned. Remember me? I did the belly button trick in high school until you told me not to. And I bet you need some insurance. Am I right? Or am I right? Right. We don't want to be that guy. Yeah. Nobody wants to be that guy. Yeah. But here we all want to be the guy that, hey, I have a question. Can you provide me the answer? And most often it's what's my house worth? Yeah. And the easiest way to say it with confidence and swagger is to know what it's worth, which is to concentrate on one specific area. So if I were going to pick a farm today, I would look at several things. Number one is I would look at a farm between 200 and 500 homes. Just because historically people move once every 11 years, according to the United States Post Office, which is going to be 9 sales for every 100 homes in the neighborhood. And historically in the neighborhoods that I'm looking at, about 80% are homeowners. So there's going to be 8 to 10 sales a year. And average price matters to me. And I'm looking for like 400,000 plus in my area, which is above the median price. So that the average commission is going to be $12,000 to $15,000, which means if there's 400 homes and I do 4 mailings a year, and it's, so that's $1,600. And then I spend another $400 on everything else. And then I spend an extra $100 on each of my transactions to, when I have an open house, have a food truck or an ice cream truck or popsicles or something like that there. Then I'm spending about $2,000, $2,500. And so one sale gives me multiples of the expense on it. And what I look at is an 18-month time period. And Ryan, I may be speaking numbers that you don't agree with, but about 18 months to become a force in that neighborhood. And so the first 6 months may be discouraging. Yes. But as you've done it and you've made contact with people 2 or 3 times, boom. Now, one of my secret sauce ingredients is I make sure that I work with Spokio or a list service to get everybody's email address. And every time I have a listing or a sale, everybody gets notified. Because look at it in your email, Ryan, how many emails did you have this morning when you woke up?
Too many.
I mean, I typically have like 140 when I wake up. I need to look at like 10 of them. But I go through each one of them. And if I see Ryan Smith sold a house, Ryan Smith has a new listing, once a week or something, and I just delete it, what message is still going into my head?
I'm selling
I don't
houses.
even look at where it is.
Yeah.
I don't look at where is it. I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's the secret sauce, and it doesn't cost you anything once you have their email address.
Yeah.
And what sources do you use to get lists or information?
So in Canada, it's different. We have our privacy laws are very strict.
Much stricter.
So, yeah. So we can't just do that. I wish we could. But on the flip side, for Canadians, it provides opportunities because agents can't do that. Then if you are creative, you can get people's information a lot easier. So then the people that do read your emails, like that's in our database or in our farm, we had 3,600 people and we got 450 people that put their hand up to get our reports. Mm-hmm. So they were much more engaged than blasting out, because a lot of agents weren't willing to go to do the work to get 450 people.
Well, here's an easy way. You start the Facebook group and you get people in it. And then what you start doing is a trivia contest once a month, $25, $50 gift. And then you send everybody you can text and email blast. Hey, I'm going to put the trivia out on Monday. Monday, this is the trivia. And then here's what Steve Williams does in Jacksonville Beach. He says, you didn't win, but he sends me 2 scratch off tickets anyways. Yeah. So he plays it at a higher level. This is the guy that's gotten 72 transactions already this year from his group. And he'll enter them in a drawing. Then he does a Facebook Live of who wins the information. Yep. And then he texts everybody, this is what you want. Play again. Monday Fun Day is coming again, September 12th or whatever day, Monday Fun Day. And that's an easy way to get email addresses by having it there. And eventually you're going to get it with just the information that you provide. People are going to want it.
Exactly.
Somebody, your neighbor's going to say something. Oh yeah, our house is worth, 580. Well, how'd you get that? Well, Ryan Smith sent me this list. Well, who's Ryan Smith? Oh, he's the best agent ever. We haven't used him, but he's the greatest. And they start getting that sort of mojo and momentum, and it really builds and really builds. And that's why my ultimate goal is, if you are a coaching client, is that you have your list of 2,000 or 4,000 people, but out of those lists of 2,000, 4,000, you have 150 that have bought from you or bought a house that you had listed or has referred somebody to you. And those people get a lot of your attention, and the other 1,850 get what got you to get those 150. So your business keeps growing. Exactly. And the other thing about a database that most new agents don't consider, because we don't think long-term enough, is that's a saleable asset.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a saleable asset. And we've helped several clients buy retiring agents' books of business. Yep. It's never worth as much as the retiring agent thinks it is, but it's worth more than you might be willing to pay, but you come up with some creative ways to pay for it. Yep. And we've coached some agents through this. For most people that want to sell, it's probably better just to work another year and make that income than it is to sell it. But you can sell it and make some income. Yep. And I don't know what else real estate agents can create that have any value whatsoever.
One of the things I talk about all the time is that your farm is really your funnel for your database. And so many agents think that your farm is just the people you just blast over and over and over again. And like you said, you're trying to get to the 150 people. You're trying to get to that list of people. The farm is your conduit to that, or your vehicle to get the people to put their hand up to build that database. And if you can think of it that way, it changes how you do farming, because traditional old school farming was just, if I send out enough stuff to enough people, they're going to want to do business with me. And I would say, no, send out stuff that's going to get them to put their hand up. Send out stuff that's going to get them to want to connect with you.
What have you seen that's working really well lately?
So Facebook groups is one of the biggest ones right now. Right. And I think, and then adding value. You mentioned trivia night. That's a big one. I've seen a lot of agents doing really well with that kind of stuff, especially over COVID. So you're trying to do things that you can. One of the things that we built ours was neighborhood home prices report. So we did a monthly guide on home sales. That was big for us. And then the thing I'm pushing right now is business to business stuff and going after the local businesses, because they're struggling right now. They're having a hard time. So I teach one to many. So it's you trying to get in front of their audience. So instead of trying to sell myself 1% at a time, it's how can I get in front of their audience? So how can I help that local business? So business interviews is a big thing that I'm pushing.
Yeah, that's huge. And what we used to do in Kailua, we do this. I'd eat never the big box restaurants, but a little locally owned restaurant. I'd talk to the owner. I'd say, you know what? I have a list of 1,100 people out of the 10,000. I have an email list of that. What I'd like to be able to offer is 22 for one meals or something like that. And what's your ideal customer look like? Because maybe I can narrow that list of 1,100 down to 500.
Yeah.
Send it to them. You know, if it's an ice cream shop, they might be families with children, which is something that I mark in my database. And if you got to, buy one cone, get one free, you're going to get a new customer from that. And what's your ideal customer look like? The second thing that we've done in a geographic farm with some of our clients that works very well is it's a riff on the pie for Thanksgiving or the cherry or that. But what they do is they say, hey, I'm celebrating X number of years in the real estate business, and I want to donate X times 10 or 100 or $500 to a local charity that you like.
Yeah.
Send me a short email as to why you like this charity, and I'll donate in your name. And think about that. What are you doing is you're saying you care. You're also successful enough to give some back. And you would be amazed at the heartfelt letters that you get if you're giving $100 to 15 different organizations that are local. I got very involved in Hawaii with a local Boys and Girls Club and ended up helping raise $4 million to help build one. Now, it was a lot of work, but you got to know a lot of people. And it was a cause that I was very involved in. And pretty much everybody in that community knew I was the Boys and Girls Club guy. Now, they may have agreed. It's sort of hard to be against the Boys and Girls Club, it's like saying, hit baby seals over the head, no. But you can support their local charities. And then you get to know the people that run those local charities who know a lot of people. Same thing with the small businesses. Go to your businesses that serve the farm area that you like to work in, the dry cleaners, the small restaurants, the little bookstore, the knickknack shop, the leather maker or whatever else, and say, what's your ideal client look like? And I'd love to put you together with them. In fact, many of them here, there's another trainer that calls it my 5-star referral service. Nice. And these are people that I've worked with that I give 5 stars. You might want to work with them also. Nice. And what if they shared their list for you to send that out? Just a thought. There you go.
Exactly. That's why I had one of my past guests, Jeff McLennan. He does, he's in British Columbia. And he does a thing called Eat, New Westminster, and he focuses on restaurants. And he has over 7,000 people. He has over 10% of the population in his city, in his group. And he said he did in the last 12 months, he did 24 transactions or 26 transactions from this group. And it's just focusing on local businesses or local restaurants. So it's, if you give back, and that comes back for me, that CPR, that community, and you serve them, they're going to give back.
Yeah. If you love to golf, take people on a round of golf. Say, the Bradshaw Farm, the thing I said, they have a golf club. My son-in-law's, who's a scratch golfer, is there, and he'll offer to take them on a round of golf and get to know them. Do something that you love, because I heard some good advice from somebody. It might have been Seth Godin. I'm not quite sure. I have a goal. I have 5 children and I have 7 grandchildren and an 8th on the way.
Nice.
And the oldest is 8 and I'm 59 now. I want to be the granddad. They call me Pop. I want to be the Pop that teenagers like to spend time with.
Yeah.
Now, I fully imagine that involves bribery, and I'm okay with that. But here's the truth of the matter is I know from years of working with the Boy Scout organization and for years of working with church youth groups, the high school level, is that teenagers are really smart. Yeah. People are really smart. And people who are really smart like to be around people who are passionate about something, and they want to learn about that. Now, they may not have interest in doing what you want to do. Like, I don't need to golf ever in my life. I have no interest in golfing, but I swim. I swim like, a mile and a half a day, which a lot of people have no interest in doing. However, when I have that interest, there's a certain subset of the population that is going to be interested in my passion about it, whatever it is. So it could be wine. It could be tropical fish. It could be restaurants. It could be charities. It could be your local church. It could be all these different things. And same thing, get excited about a neighborhood. Yeah. Get excited about a neighborhood. And when you have that passion about a neighborhood, it's so contagious. Yeah. If you're the guy, nobody loves our neighborhood as a real estate agent more than Ryan Smith. Woo, what a compliment you could get.
Exactly. So I want to wrap up for time's sake is last piece of advice. So what piece of advice would you give someone if they're thinking about getting started in a farm with your years of experience and the coaching experience? What would you give for someone to?
I would say budget cheaply, but plan on door knocking. I would say the biggest mistake I see agents do is they commit to spending, in 1,000 home farm, they commit to spending $6,000 or $12,000 over the course of the year. And if they don't see results, they get discouraged. Oftentimes they get discouraged by their spouse who says, you're spending money out, not putting any money in. However, if you're going out and you're spending $100 to print up 1,000 sheets and you hand deliver them and you come home sweaty and you laugh because somebody shot you with a hose or you stepped in dog poop and you're sitting there with your spouse talking about that, they see you working hard and they continue to do that. Now it takes time. I can tell you, knocking on doors, you plan on 2 hours, you'll knock on 50 doors a day. And that's really, and that's in a typical neighborhood with, I don't know, you call them meters, square meter yards, but not having the acreage, or hectares or whatever you call them, hectares or whatever. But if it's a normal where you can walk from one house to another in a minute or so, you can get like 50 homes done in 2 hours. If you did that, you're probably going to get into 4 to 5 conversations every day you go out, and you're going to leave something of value, your market analysis or your market report on the door. Big tip is I take a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I print it up on thicker cardboard. I take a single hole punch it there and put a long string of rubber band around it so that I can hang it on a doorknob or a light post or something much easier than trying to fold it in half and shove it in the door or something. In the United States, you can't put anything in a mailbox or on a mailbox. So that's where the rubber bands come in. So the rubber bands make it a lot easier to put it on. So if I was going to knock on 50 doors, I'd have 40 done with the rubber bands on it. And I have 10. And then I also write, sorry, I missed you on it. And boom, it's a handwritten note. It goes out. You go quickly from one to other. And then the 10 that are home that you talk to, you're able to give them something without the rubber band on it. So I would plan, hey, pick 400 or 500 homes. You're going to spend, $25, $50 a month on it rather than $500 a month on it. And you're going to see results. And I would consistently on 500 homes, that's 10 days. I would try on doing it every 6 months, door knocking, and then getting all the other campaigns. I would say within 18 months, you're going to start to see great results. You'll probably start seeing results in 6 months. But in 18 months, you're going to look back and say, hey, this is the best thing I ever did.
100%. I totally agree. That's all advice that I would give. So that's awesome. So we always wrap up with a best book segment. So what's one book that you recommend that's either made an impact on your life or what do you think would have an impact on our viewers?
Well, recently it's really interesting. You can see I love to read. And I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss and Seth Godin and Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma's from Toronto. But recently I've been on being a kinder person's kick. And the kindest person I can think of is Mr. Rogers. And so I've watched the Mr. Rogers things, and I've got a little book called The World According to Mr. Rogers.
Nice.
And every day I just sort of open it up and I look at things. And here's today. Perfect. The greatest gift you ever give is your honest self. And I just think about that for a second, and I would share that. It's not particularly business, but when you're talking about coming from a spirit of contribution, when you're talking about adding value to a transaction, you really have to be your authentic self. Another guy that I follow with, we talk to once every other week, is Bob Berg, and he's The Go-Giver. If you haven't ever read The Go-Giver, it's a great book. But he talks about the law of authenticity, where you've got to be yourself. So if you're going to be in a neighborhood that you're afraid of, you don't want to walk in it, then don't do that neighborhood. Do a neighborhood that you're excited about, that you can have that passion for. And I would say find a book that helps you to concentrate on being a contribution. It can be, I just read so much. Every year I reread How to Win Friends and Influence People. Every year I reread Courtship After Marriage by Zig Ziglar, which is a book on courtship with my wife. We've been married 29 years, but it's really a book about relationships. It's a book about showing other people they're very important to you. And that's the same thing with The World According to Mr. Rogers. If you look at what he gives, if the Go-Giver, if you look at any of these books on wisdom, it's about making a connection with other people, showing that you care about them. And whether, look, if you were a photographer and you had a photography studio, chances are you may meet somebody that's thinking about moving, but you're not going to think about me until I've said, what's your ideal client look like? And I've been able to refer people that need a wedding shoot or a school shoot or a senior photo shoot to you. And then all of a sudden we're going to build that relationship. And that's what farming does, is read books about relationships, how to build relationships without wanting something in it for yourself immediately. It's going to come because there's so few good real estate agents out there. And so when you show you're one of the 10% in your area that is knowledgeable, that does have options, and that does have proven systems and solutions because you've shown up month after month after month after month, you're going to knock it out of the park.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are great books. I'll put them in the show notes so people can check that out as well. And for our viewers, how can they check out what you're up to and connect with you if they'd like to?
I coach through Your Coaching Matters, which is yourcoachingmatters.com. We've been, Inman named us top 25 coaches, my wife and I, and we have a couple of other coaches that work with us also, number of years in a row. You can find about us all you want. We have a group coaching plan that starts at $89 a month, where you get 4 calls a week, including 2 what we call the Coaches In, which is like a Dr. Phil or Dr. Laura Zoom call in. We get on a call, we have 10, 15 people show up. Somebody asks a question, we all learn from our answers to the questions. We have one guy in Las Vegas. He's the most smart guy on tech and podcasts and that sort of thing. He knows so much more than I do. I just say, Eric, you take this question, over time. And then we also have the private coaching there, but you can go to yourcoachingmatters.com. My email address, Ryan has it. He'll put it in the notes. It's mike.stott@mac.com. If you just want to chat, or you say, Mike, you're crazy, or you're brilliant, or I disagree with you, or I didn't understand this, I promise you, I do get back to you. I'm one of the very few gurus in the real estate business. I'll give you my cell phone number. I'll give you my email address. I do respond. We do have several courses also. You can look at them. If you're interested in for sale by owners, or you're interested in absentee owners, we have courses that show you step by step how to create those in more detail. We do have a database course. All this presupposes that you know how to use a database, which is a big presupposition. I would ask Ryan, as you get started, check in with Ryan, which database does he like? And, we like the database that you're going to use every day. Yeah,
that's my philosophy as well.
Yeah, I personally use Wise Agent. I have used FileMaker Pro. I've used Keep. I've used, all the big names. I just like Wise Agent because it's inexpensive at $30 a month and does 90 times more than I need it to, on a day-by-day basis. So, this is great. I think, Ryan, you're providing a great service, and your people, I just want them to know that, hey, I'm willing to come from this contribution. So please do not hesitate to give me a call or an email. Again, my cell is 678-232-0927, or my email address is mike.stott@yourcoachingmatters.com or mike.stott@mac.com. And they both get to me. And you guys are the best.
And I know you mean that because I've known you for a number of years, and you are willing to share and connect. And you're actually part of the reason why I started this program too. You were an inspiration for me getting my own training programs going with your FSBOs and things like that. So you're definitely easy to reach, easy to get a hold of, and are definitely willing to share your wisdom. So I appreciate you being on. I know my.
Thank you for those kind words. It makes my heart sing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being on.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.